Kerala State Youth Welfare Board presents Kerala Entrepreneurial Youth Summit, Key 2018.
Good afternoon. Just while we load up the PPT.
Every day in Bangalore, offices, restaurants, homes, and universities dispose of over 2,500 tons of organic material, such as surplus food waste. Traditionally, this waste is headed to, at best, the compost heap. At worst, landfill, releasing toxic greenhouse gases. We are Carbon Masters. Carbon management specialists, in partnership with Mahindra & Mahindra, are determined to change all that. By diverting this organic material and combining it with microorganisms in a process called anaerobic digestion, we are able to reuse that waste and turn it into clean, renewable energy and organic manure. We call it Carbon Lights. Carbon Lights is renewable natural gas and organic manure. Carbon Light's cooking gas burns longer and stronger than alternatives such as LPG and is 100% carbon neutral in use. It can also be the fuel for your vehicles or fuel to run your power generator on. At the end of the process, the byproduct is the organic manure that can help farmers displace chemical fertilizer and grow organic food. Now, if you are based in Bangalore or are a hotel, corporate or IT park, or an apartment block and generating bulk food waste, this project might interest you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Som and I met some 10 years ago in Edinburgh University, where we were both studying for a postgraduate degree in carbon management, the science of climate change. I'd come in from a lengthy career with big corporates like Procter & Gamble, PwC and IBM, and Som had come up from Bangalore. And after that year, we set up a company called Carbon Masters, whose mission in life was to work with organizations to help them address the climate change issue by developing innovative energy solutions. We did that for 2 years reasonably successfully in Edinburgh in Scotland until Som's visa ran out and he came back to Bangalore, where we set up Carbon Masters, naively assuming that we could do the same thing in India that we were doing back in Edinburgh, and we fell on our backside. No one back in 2012 was remotely interested in paying anybody to measure their carbon footprint. So we started to look for solutions. And we, as Nagar said this morning, what we were looking at is what problem are we trying to solve? Now in Bangalore, thousands of tons of organic waste, as you heard in the video, either gets dumped in a landfill or goes to a compost heap. And it releases a toxic greenhouse gas called methane. And that's a real issue. On the other side of it, India is the second largest country in the world for the consumption of liquid petroleum gas, which is a fossil fuel. If you burn that, it releases CO2, which affects the climate. And thirdly, because of the indiscriminate use over many, many years of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, Indian soils have now hit a yield curve, where farmers are having to put more and more fertilizer in the ground to get the same amount of food product out of it. And they're ruining the soil from a health point of view. So what we're looking at is how do we take those three big problems and come up with a solution? And what we've done is try to do that, as Som will explain.
So in Bangalore, we saw this problem. So as Kevin said, I was 22 when I started on this journey. I'm 32 today, and since 2008 we started on a mission of reducing carbon emissions, and we developed a couple of ideas. I came back to India. We were looking at the waste going into landfill as a major problem. Bangalore generates about 4,000 tons. So what we've developed is India's first branded bottled bio-CNG and organic fertilizer product. So I mean the topic for today was entrepreneurship through trash, but we don't see it as trash. I promise by the end of this presentation you all see waste as a resource, and nature doesn't have any waste. It's a term that we've coined. And what we've done here is one of our pilot projects was to take organic waste, turn it into biogas, purify it. And biogas has been there for 100 odd years. I think a lot of homes, even in Kerala, will have gobar gas. and it has always remained as something at the backyard of your home. But what we took that and we've changed it into an industrial scale, and we bottle the gas equivalent and supply it to hotels and restaurants as a displacement of LPG. And then the other byproduct what we have is organic fertilizer that goes and displaces chemical fertilizer. Now why is this such a huge thing to, just taking a step back, every ton of gas that we sell, it displaces 3 tons of 3 tons of carbon emissions from LPG alone and 32 tons of carbon emissions. So we're stopping carbon emissions through this project, as well as the chemical fertilizer is displaced and organic fertilizer gets into the farmers' hands. And this is exactly what the whole world is talking about now, a circular economy. So we take the waste generated, pick it up, and even our trucks run on the same fuel. So we don't use diesel to run our trucks. We then take it to our facility, which is about 50 kilometers away from Bangalore, and it's a 40 tons plant. We convert it into biogas, purify it, bottled into cylinders, and the other byproduct is, which is manure, and then supply it to restaurants. When we started off, the market potential that we saw was obviously in the very first thing, we were looking at the telecom towers. There were 500,000 telecom towers to go after. But when we realized that the uptime requirement from the telecom industry was 99.99%, we didn't know how to do it. So we looked at kitchens in Bangalore, and they were paying 118 rupees back then for every kg of LPG that they burnt. And this was commercial price, not the subsidized. And diesel was being subsidized, so we thought we'll not go and address the diesel problem, but we will go and address the LPG. And we also ran our trucks. So just to give you some perspective, our plant has 40 tons processing, gives about 1100 kgs of bottled bio-CNG, and we just need about 10 to 12 customers to sell out the whole thing. On the other hand, Bangalore has like 6,000 restaurants. So I'm just giving you the market potential just to give you a feel for it. And our customers absolutely love it. And every time, we did pilots with dhabas, we then went to mainstream kitchens. Now we have just completed trials with a 5-star hotel called ITC Vincha. So we have about 10 clients, customers where we're selling the gas today, including the Akshay Patra ISKCON Foundation. Previous slide. Yeah, next one please. Yeah, so it started up with so just to give you all the young aspirants, entrepreneurs out there, just to share our journey. We started out in 2014, and our journey goes back to 2008 when we started out as an idea for carbon emissions, to reduce carbon emissions, but we nailed on a proper sort of a project by 2014 on bottling of bottled bio-CNG. We launched the pilot in 2014. We then went on and convinced Mahindra and Mahindra to invest the majority of the capex. We then met Indian Angel Network. Naga is one of our investors. And we convinced them to invest in us. Indian Angel Network and Sangam Ventures have invested in us. And then our first large-scale plant got commissioned only earlier this year. And then we're currently processing about 30 to 35 tons of wet waste per day and converting that into bottled bio-CNG.
So it's been a long journey, and we've had a lot of failure to put up with, but we're now looking like we can build a very successful business in India. And I guess there's a lot of young people here today, you're thinking about entrepreneurship and why should you do it. Everyone will, as you heard this morning, everyone will tell you, don't do it, it's a bad idea, or that won't work, or you'll never get the money for that, or go and get a proper job. The actual interesting thing today is, for someone who's worked most of my life in big corporates today shed more labor than they're hiring. The risks in going to work with a big corporate today of having a long-term career are actually no greater, I would argue, than the risk of being an entrepreneur. You know, there's no security in employment with major companies in the world today anyway. So you should, and it's been said this morning, and I can speak from personal experience, there's no better time to be an entrepreneur right now. And my view is there's no better place in the world right now to be an entrepreneur than to be in India. And that increasingly, the issue is, you can be a conventional entrepreneur, I've got nothing against that, if really what you want to do is make money. But actually, the real issue is to take a problem and use the brains and the talent that God gave you and your hard work to try and solve that problem. And that's what India needs. Thousands, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of young people like yourselves who are going to look at that problem and solve it, because you will build a big successful business out of it, just as we're hoping to build a big successful business out of carbon lights, because we think we can scale that across India, displacing fossil fuels in cars, in vehicles, and for commercial cooking across India, and also give farmers a better fertilizer to use on their soils to improve their crop yields. So what we do has a real impact. From just an employment point of view, a year ago today, we had 6 employees in the company. We're employing nearly 50 people in our plant today, and if our plans come off, we'll be employing between 500 or 600 people in the next 3 years. That's just one small startup company. And the beautiful thing is, the 50 jobs we've created are 150 yards from a small village just outside the even smaller town of Nellore in Karnataka. So we're bringing employment to those areas of India that lack that employment, as well as having jobs for smart sales and marketing and business development people in our offices in Bangalore. So I really want you to encourage you. Don't think about being an entrepreneur, just get ahead and do it. And if an old guy like me, a corporate suit, can after 35 years come to India and set up with this brilliant young man here a successful business, you can too. Thank you very much indeed.
Great. We want to have more time for questions. If there is anything, we'll be happy to answer them. Well, we definitely cannot speak Malayalam, and we need local partners to sort of, and we'll probably learn too in the process. But I think the thing about just being in Karnataka and just being in Bangalore is like producing 4,000 tons, and we've just set up a 40-ton plant. So if we have to scale this, we keep thinking about, we have very short span of time, and the only way to do it is probably look at a franchise model, look at tying up with local entrepreneurs, and do it as an entrepreneurship model in every state. So definitely yes, if there is a good amount of interest. It's on the last slide. Yeah, I'll ask Nisha to share with the participants, please. Yeah. Yeah, that's here. Yeah. Any others? Yeah. Several, I mean, I can tell you so many. Well, is it in India or in the context of entrepreneurship journey itself? I mean, just, I'm just like, Bangalorean, went to UK to do my master's, and the very first thing back home, they were shocked when I said, me and Kevin are starting this venture. And it was, everybody goes to UK putting this big bank, taking a big bank loan, so did I. And then at the end of the program, we'll set up a company and to solve the carbon problem. And the university supported us. They gave us a £10,000 free interest-free loan. And we spent about next 3 years working with the UK universities and a lot of public sector organizations. And one thing that we've realized is, there's no light bulb moment that you get an idea and then that's it. You always need to keep refining it. And you'll have to refine it according to the market, you'll have to refine it according to your customers' feedback. And finally we've ended up, it was like, we became overnight celebrities. Both me and Kevin are featured in the Forbes. But it's taken us 10 years to get here. So, and with a lot of refining of our business model.
I think the other attitude to like problems is your attitude to failure. You've got to want failure. And again, I've learned all the lessons I've learned in life of when I've failed. Success doesn't teach you anything. It can actually lead to complacency or arrogance. So you've got to deal with the fear of failure and overcome it, because you will fail as an entrepreneur. That's how you learn and get better. So that's how you should approach problems and failing to solve those problems, because you can learn out of that. So you have to have that different attitude towards failing than we conventionally approach. We try to avoid failure.
Good, we're on time? Yeah.
Good, thank you very much indeed.
There's another, sorry, can we take this, Nisha? Yeah. Well, I mean, from at least what we are doing, see, it depends on which part. I mean, clean tech is a very wide space, right? And here we are in clean tech selling every day we are doing nearly about 60% of the plant capacity, and our customers on a daily basis buy the product. But that's the model. I mean, if you're in the business of selling technology, like if we were to set up a business which was selling panels today, what's the real innovation? I mean, yeah, somebody's done the panel, you go and sell it, and then if it sells, then you make money. Otherwise, then there's a down period. So it depends on the business model, and there are a lot of application-driven clean tech companies that I've seen who are doing excellently, like charging batteries. Several. I mean, at least ours is one of those models which is like a cash revenue generator on a daily basis. Good. Thank you very much.